And we back. Back at it like a brat at it. That's asthmatic. What's that word? What y'all joke? Today, we going to AI Profits. This used to be a YouTube channel that I used to keep up with consistently back in the day. I remember I told y'all I used to be very engulfed in street culture. I used to just study the streets and just the game that I was trying to play. So he did a documentary about Frank Lucas in the past, but this video is saying how Frank Lucas is a created character. So we gonna let him explain it, and I'll get my input. So without further ado,
Lucas, a major drug dealer, informed and was released from a life sentence. Within 3 months of his release, he was arrested for heroin possession and sent back to prison.
That's what the fuck you
Again,
get.
Bob Fisk, the former U.S. attorney from New York, the man who put Barnes away.
Should Nicky Barnes have his sentence commuted? Should he get out of prison for the help that he has given the federal government?
Man.
People got mad when Frank Lucas passed away, and I said that he had been a big informant and against all street guys and no police, but there you have it. That's from
all street guys and no police is crazy. That goes against everything that I ever was told.
60-minute story about Nicky Barnes. Frank Lucas definitely told on a bunch of people. One of the cases that was, I remember I read about it, and I was like, wow. He connected multiple Harlem dealers into a conspiracy because he told the federal government that they all bought their cut and their packaging envelopes from the same Jewish guy uptown. Like, these guys didn't know each other. Now, they were heroin traffickers. I mean, they weren't
So he was
innocent,
putting lies
I guess,
on
you
niggas.
know. But
that's
they
completely
weren't doing anything with each other, and Frank got them rigged up into a conspiracy by revealing that they all got their cut from the same.
Just imagine, gang. Imagine that's something that you experience, that you start reading your paperwork and you start seeing names like, nigga, I never served you. I don't fucking know you, gang. How the fuck you just gonna implement me in some shit because a nigga don't want to do his time?
Same places. So, and Ike Atkinson is also
Turnpike
in this tale, and this is about the end of the Superfly era, the era that was so interesting and spellbinding from maybe the late 60s to the mid 70s, where you had the first rise of many of them very charismatic.
Man, if it was any era to be a player in the game, I would have chose that era, the 88 era. It's a couple eras. Shit, if I knew what I knew now, I would have been a scammer in motherfucking the COVID era. The streets don't lead, they just evolve, man.
Intelligent, interesting, but not all. Some were thugs. Major black drug kingpins. And at one point, 3 of the largest drug traffickers in the United States were all black, and they were all from the same
triangle.
Just like an hour drive from each other in North Carolina. You had Ike Atkinson in Goldsboro. You had Frank Matthews, who had come from Durham, of course, up to
the
New
GOAT.
York and Philly.
The GOAT. My GOAT. That's my GOAT.
And you had Frank Lucas, who I forget what name of the city he was from, but it was in that same, area.
I wonder what was in that
Matthews
water.
Kind of seemed to have his own thing going on, probably with the Corsicans. But Frank Lucas and Ike Atkinson, of course, their stories
I don't think Ike
intertwined.
Atkinson is Turnpike Ike.
And before we get into that, here's to show you how much money was floating around and what sort of level these traffickers were on. Here's a news story about Ike Atkinson being the victim of a crime that the federal government was investigating.
You, just you, building your app on Base 44.
TV5 News Scene Special Unit has learned that the FBI and a United...
I know this has nothing to do with anything, but I love that afro. You look good, girl.
United States Senate subcommittee are investigating an elaborate hoax in which a major narcotics figure imprisoned here in Atlanta was duped out of at least $100,000. Investigators have been told that as part of the scheme, Atlanta lawyer Stanley Galkin arranged for someone to visit the Atlanta federal prison while masquerading as a high-ranking government official. Here's TV5's Richard Belcher.
The central figures in the investigation are Atlanta lawyer Stanley Galkin and convicted narcotic smuggler Leslie Ike Atkinson. Atkinson was housed at the federal penitentiary here when the hoax is believed to have taken place, either in March or April of last year. Investigators from both the FBI and the Senate Investigations Subcommittee have been told that Galkin promised Atkinson he could deliver the smuggler's freedom in exchange for a huge sum of cash. Atkinson hesitated, so Galkin offered to prove his influence with the Carter administration by bringing to the prison the Associate Attorney General of the United States.
They was just playing a dirty game.
The real Associate Attorney General was and is former Atlanta lawyer Michael J. Egan, but he had never heard of Stanley Galkin. Galkin knew that, but Leslie Atkinson did not. On the appointed day, a man believed to have been a close Galkin associate arrived at the prison, and the masquerade began. The imposter...
They would call this the long con back in the day. If you ever read any of Iceberg Slim books, this is the long con game. That the streets, man, they have so many different variations. This man was a con man, and he conned a gangster. That's hard.
Walked into the prison entrance, flashed a set of credentials, and signed the visitor's register as Michael J. Egan, United States Justice Department. The meeting was brief but apparently impressive. The heroin dealer believed his freedom was imminent.
Why the fuck wouldn't you?
$100,000 was on.
Why the fuck wouldn't you if somebody just walked into a prison? That's crazy. This con was amazing.
Authorized, though some sources say the loss to Atkinson may have run as high as 8 to 10 times that amount. After the incident, Galkin reportedly expressed the fear that Atkinson would have him killed.
Yeah, bitch.
Stanley Galkin stayed alive while Leslie Atkinson stayed in prison.
And as always, don't forget to subscribe and share this video. Let's get Al Prophet to 1 million by the end of 2025. Subscribe.
An FBI official in Atlanta has confirmed the Bureau's investigation and its interest in Stanley Galkin. But the FBI would not identify Galkin's associate, the masquerader who took part in the Ike Atkinson hoax. Associate Attorney General Egan acknowledged that he is aware of the FBI investigation of the hoax, but he did not elaborate. The FBI has been investigating the case for several months now, but it has not been referred for criminal prosecution.
Why the fuck would it be? You robbed a drug dealer. You robbed a drug dealer, and you got away with it. And who's to say this wasn't the man? Who's to say he wasn't? Do y'all have video footage from that day? You say y'all ain't releasing the name. Y'all still searching. How you know he didn't do this?
Execution. If that is done, the charge would apparently be impersonation of a federal official. Even if there are no criminal charges, both the FBI and the Senate Investigations Subcommittee are known to be aware of other serious allegations relating to the Galkin-Atkinson relationship.
So Ike Atkinson was such a
big head,
fat target in terms of just being seen as having so much money
that they
and
robbed him.
Being a guy who was more into trying to bribe and pay his way out of trouble than homicide his way out of trouble, which Frank Lucas.
A finesser. Hey man said, hey man, how much is gonna cost, man? But what you don't know is this is an offer you cannot refuse. You say your number, or you get a number.
Lucas and Nicky Barnes were known for, and so these guys, well, a real lawyer who was in trouble. Financially brought in this guy to try to pose as somebody. I'm not sure
a grifter.
What ended up happening with them. But, okay, so if you don't know who Ike Atkinson is, if you remember the movie American Gangster, Denzel, Frank Lucas goes over to Thailand and he meets the people in the jungle. Yeah. And there's a little reference to where he has a cousin, Ike or Leslie, who has a bar there, and he just sort of uses them as an introduction. Well, the real story is Frank Lucas never went to Thailand, but Ike Atkinson was definitely set up over there. He was a retired military guy. He didn't get into the dope game till probably in his mid to late 40s when he had already retired. He had 20 or 25 years in the military.
The North Carolina mob.
he was a fully developed man. He had a game plan and executed. Somebody fucking ratted. You fucking bitches.
Is run by men who know a lot about the military. 10 of the top men in this organization are former sergeants in the Army or the Air Force. Federal authorities.
Niggas who understand how to take instructions and execute. All this new street shit, man, I would have loved to grow the knowledge that these niggas, the knowledge that they took away from us by incarcerating our parents in the 90s and the early 2000s, that knowledge was pivotal. Like, they still know how to do organized crime. We don't, to the extent. But boy, this man, he was amazing.
Authorities identify this man as the head of the North Carolina mob. Leslie Ike Atkinson,
black man.
Goldsboro, North Carolina. Former Master Sergeant, United States Army.
Allegedly.
If you're serious about landing a legit remote job right now, stop wasting time on mainstream job boards. Those platforms have millions of
Number one, I don't know no other black guy had no drugs that weren't cut. I don't know not a single one. I've been in Marion, I've been in Atlanta.
Is this him?
I've been in the Lewisburg, stationed in these places and everything like that.
Until his retirement last year, Martin Pera directed the federal government's investigation of the North Carolina mob. Pera says law enforcement officials were slow to acknowledge the importance of this new mob because its leaders are black, not mafia members.
To start working on these upstarts, on these new people, wasn't interesting because you got the most points for working on a good mafia guy.
FBI forever bothering Italians.
As a bad guy from way back.
There was like a lot of, not just black, but a lot of retired black non-commissioned officers that were kind of into gambling, and they would gamble with each other, and they would be in Germany and Thailand. Yeah. And then
you find the streets if
Vietnam
you're a degenerate.
Kicks off, and Ike is able to use his credentials to move around military bases, and he starts sending stuff directly from Thailand in Goldsboro, North Carolina, of all places, circa maybe, it's hard to know when it started, but by 75 or 6, 7, the feds knew it to be the epicenter, more so even than New York, of the H traffic in the United States.
Imagine finding a plug in North Carolina, hitting that motherfucker, distributing it through the cities. Boy, so much money. If you was close to North Carolina, if you was in Atlanta,
took Ike Atkinson's
New York
activities and others around him very, very seriously. I mean, there was spin-off other soldier groups around Ike, like a guy named Dan Birch. Okay. They hit him for bringing in like 100 keys a year. Remember, we're talking about untouched H.
That you could step on until you can't. And then the thing about it is you could cut that shit and then sell it to another seller. And it'd be still so strong that he could cut that bitch with the exact shit you just cut it with, and it'll still be fucking fire. They say a lot of the opioids that reach the streets are only like 10% of the actual heroin. So just imagine how much cut you could put on a pure, like on some greedy shit. I'm chopping one in half and I'm putting that to the side. That's never getting touched. That other half, I'm finna throw what I just cut in half. I'm finna throw one of each of the mix on that. If you know, you know. I'm finna make this bitch. If it was pure, and this one they was using quinine and fucking baby laxative. This is like.
One key of that back then that they were probably paying $5,000 for in Thailand. By the time it hit the streets, maybe $500,000. So just
for one real
enormous sums of not just money,
not
but
the shit that we selling.
Profit was being made. But
I never met a black dope dealer that said I had some pure stuff. Not one. Every situation comes up, it's always that damn fool. They just keep cutting it and cutting it and cutting it and cutting it.
I told you.
If you
That
want it,
is
you can
him.
take it. If you don't, you don't.
Is this network of black, non-commissioned
That is
military
him.
officers
Man,
still active
welcome
today?
home, guys. I'm so happy.
Oh,
home.
yes, I would say so.
This is black organized crime.
Yes. Yes, in a nutshell.
And we don't really have that no more, man. And it hurt. Like, we got gang banging and shit like that. And that's kind of similar. But this was like mafioso. And we don't have that no more. We lost it. We lost it because they cut the head off the body and let the body fall. It's
exactly
no
what
accident.
it is.
There have always been blacks in organized crime operations, but never at the top. This new mob has already staked out much of the heroin business for itself, and authorities say it is beginning to use its well-disciplined organization to compete with the mafia in other areas of criminal activity. The North Carolina mob is this country's newest organized crime family.
Imagine you on the TV and you see that shit pop up. You just sitting in your motherfucking crib, and what this is, the late 80s, the early 80s, whatever the fuck this is, and you just clicking, and you see this shit, and you're like, ain't that cousin?
There was a big availability of heroin, white heroin that was...
White heroin? No comment.
Purer than the heroin that was coming in from Europe and from Mexico. The heroin from Europe and Mexico generally had been diluted quite a bit. But in the area, the heroin was coming over that was very
pure.
Very pure.
To say the least.
Two major traffickers involved. One was Leslie Atkins, and the other one was Herman Jackson. And reportedly, both had a club over in Thailand. But the Leslie Atkins and Herman Jackson, they were major violators.
It never crossed my mind
that's my
to
man.
take off. I always felt that one of my lawyers would get me out of
Damn, gangster, I'm so sorry you took that chance. You should have fled like Matthews.
this. And John, my lawyer in Florida's father was also a district court judge, but not over our district here. He was out of middle district, like out of Minnesota and places like that. And I had John McConnell in this law firm here, and the lawyer I had out of Fayetteville, Numbox, and everything like that.
That man said, I had the dream team, bitch. I thought I was finna beat the state, beat the government.
I felt that I might have to do 3 or 4 years, but I was going to get out.
Damn. Well, you did get out.
I would say it's like having another producer in the room that knows exactly what your song needs. This is co-producer, the fastest way to find samples that fit you.
These pictures were made with the special night lens in Fayetteville, North Carolina, a center for a new mob that is now competing with the American Fayetteville, North. These pictures were made with a special night lens in Fayetteville, North Carolina, a center for a new mob that is now competing with the American Mafia. The leaders of this organization are not from New York or Chicago. They are from small towns in North Carolina. They are black, and they have become rich by taking away from the Mafia much of the heroin business in this country.
As you should. Fuck I need you for. Cut the middleman now. You heard Nipsey Hussle.
The man on the left is an undercover narcotics agent. He's had little trouble buying heroin in North Carolina.
That was a super
Using a
fly.
concealed camera, NBC News filmed the agent receiving a packet of heroin.
Rat bastard.
What the agent bought was $100.
Those are called controlled buys, gang. Those are called controlled buys. And if you get in this game, you have to be prepared for those. This is just like setting you up for the 1-2. It's like a jab. It's not the overhand right. It's a jab. And they just building the case on you, gang. If you get in this shit, you gotta be prepared to. You see they got the nigga on camera. He don't even know it. He just diddy bopping. Fresh and so clean.
Worth of heroin. A tiny part of the hundreds of millions of dollars worth of heroin this new mob has smuggled into North.
I wonder how much that $100 worth of heroin weighs back then. I ain't gonna say too much about today.
Carolina and then sold through its own nationwide network of street dealers, most of them from North Carolina. This is the way much of this new mob's heroin arrives in this country, in planes like this one, an Air Force jet carrying military cargo. The genius of the North Carolina mob has been its ability to use the American military to move its heroin from Southeast Asia to this country.
We have several military bases in the state of North Carolina.
I was just going to say that.
Rufus Edmiston, the Attorney General of North Carolina.
We've even had drugs coming in dead bodies. They come in chair legs.
They say that, but I wonder, was that actual truth, or was that just propaganda to scare the people, to make them say, oh no, we gotta get these guys off the street. They're putting drugs in dead bodies. You know how they do us.
They come in duffel bags with fake bottoms. And it's not that we don't welcome the military in North Carolina. It's simply a fact of life that does make the importation of heroin very easy.
Atkinson is now in federal prison, but authorities believe he still runs the North Carolina mob.
That's hate. The mob doesn't exist.
That Atkinson and the other sergeants formed their tightly knit organization.
Man.
Black soldiers scheduled to leave were recruited as
black soldiers scheduled to get shot first. Y'all gotta remember, this was a different time. Everything is so much different now. We're not a racist country anymore. But this was a time where everybody used to tell you, don't join the army because they just gonna put you on the front line. That's not a joke. That was a real thing. That actually happened for a lot of generations. I don't know if it's still the same now. That's not my business. I know I have a lot of veteran friends and brothers. So family as well. But I would never. And I appreciate y'all service, but that's just not my calling.
Heroin couriers.
This was a racist time to be in the army.
Became soldiers in the North Carolina mob.
And this was not fucking 18 when they was fighting for the United States freedom. This is they got this on camera and they was still treating niggas like niggas then. Think about that, bro.
Earl Beauchamp is now in prison. He went AWOL and worked in the heroin business.
Once you have gotten to position of sergeant, then you have a relative freedom.
Okay.
And in that time, you have learned the military. Therefore, you make the military work for you. So you got another sideline, which is narcotics that you make work for you along in the military line.
I respect that. Hey, man, it's our job to play the game. It's their job to catch us. It's our job not to get caught. So I'm not mad at anybody for taking their risks and taking their chance.
What's the chance of being caught by military police?
Neil, unless you're stupid.
Unless you're stupid.
For the North Carolina mob, even the tragedies of the war were turned into opportunities to move heroin. Did you put drugs in the coffins?
Of course, you put them in the coffins. I mean, you're not harming
anyone. In the coffins, not the dead bodies, you fucking bitch.
Yeah, I mean, half of the time you'll find that that is the best way.
Fort Bragg, North Carolina, one of the bases used by the North Carolina mob in its heroin operation. The Army says it no longer sees any evidence of large-scale heroin smuggling here.
Good job, guys.
It hasn't gone away, and it never will.
Good job, guys. You guys got rid of the heroin job. Let's move on to another case.
It is at the level now where it's infinitesimal, and we do not really have a problem on heroin or even cocaine within the U.S. Army establishment at Fort Bragg.
That's what's up.
But federal